when we set up the iPhone or iPad application, we use different controls on the interface. And the first control we use is called view. A view is an instance of a UI view class, or one of its subclass. Anything you can see on your screen, like buttons, text field, labels, and so on, is the view. Notice here when we say the view is the instance of UI view. UI stands for user interface. That means something that you can drag and drop onto the design view to create a interface. Another view is called a stack view. A stack view is an instance of a UI stack view, which is a subclass of UI view. It is used to group views together in a horizontal or vertical stack. This makes them easier to position on the screen using auto layout. View controller is the instance of a UI view controller. It determines what view displays to the user and what happens when the user interacts with the view. Table view controller is an instance of a UI table view controller class. It is a subclass of a UI view controller. Its view property has reference to the table view instance, which displays single column table view cells. A collection view controller is an instance of UI collection view controller. It is a subclass of UI view controller. Navigation controller is used to set up a navigation. Tab bar controller is used to set up tab bars. You may have multiple bars, and we use tab bar controller to set up the bars. Model view controller is used to set up the connection to the database. Storyboard contains a visual representation of what user can see. Each screen of information is called a scene. SAG. If you have more than one scene in an app, you can use SAGs to move from one scene to another. Auto layout is as developer, you have to make sure that your apps look good on devices with different screen sizes. Auto layout helps you to lay out your user interface based on constraints that you specify. So we'll talk about these controls when we set up the app. Now let's create a new Xcode project. So go to New, and you choose Project. And here we want to create a new project. There are many templates that I can choose from, including single view app, game, augmented reality app, document based app, master detail app, tabbed app, sticker pack app, iMessage app, with also the framework and the library that we can choose from. So this time we choose a very simple one with only one view. So choose this one here. Go next. And there you enter the project name. We just quickly create a project. And then you pick up the organization name and organization identifier and the language. Storyboard. We're going to use storyboard, so we'll choose this one here. At this moment, we'll uncheck these checkboxes saying using core data. If we create an MVC view, then we're going to choose core data to set up a connection to the database. And we can also include a user unit test and a UI test. We're going to do this later on. So this moment here, we make all these unchecked and go next here. And there you tell where you want to save this project to. So I'm going to make sure I save it to my folder. Alright, that's the place I choose here. And then I click on create. Now we are ready to create the view. So at the beginning, we can see the property set up for the view that we choose here. It's just a summary of our project here. We can say we have an identity and we have a deployment information for iPhone, iPad, and we also, if we like to, we can choose for Mac desktop, and the device orientation portrait. That's the most people choose portrait. You can choose the other thing, landscape left, upside down, or landscape right, and status. And if you look down here, you can see you have more options here, like icon. You can choose you can create a little picture as icon, and then if that way, when you're done with the project, on the screen, you can always see the icon file that you choose for this app. So that's the place you do. But you have to have picture ready first to set up your icon, and it's a launch screen file, and which file you want to launch first on this project. And here's a framework library, but we didn't choose anything when we set up the single use view, so we have nothing to show here. And also there's a development assets. So this is basically what you see at the beginning here. You can also select to the signing capability and the resource tag info. If you create a project with a team, that's something you got to look up and build rules. So you can see that we have all sort of information here. When you publish your app to the Apple Store, those are some places that you have to look for to see that you want to set up like this. Especially right here, we have info about your project, and we including the document type, exported type. So if you open it up here, you can add any document type by adding the plus. Same thing as the exported UTIs. You can add exported UTIs from here, or you can do an import or URL types for your project. If you have it to download for user on the website, you can add it here. So these are pretty much the properties for your project. Now let's get familiar with the tool. Xcode is the tool, it's a little complex tool, has a lot of features that you can use for you to develop a app. So we're going to get familiar with all these toolbars that we can use to create an app. First of all, let's look at the storyboard. This is the storyboard, and on top there you can see this is you can understand the storyboard as like a design view. And at the bottom here you can see that by default we want to have this design view like a iPhone 11. So that's the default setting we want to set up here based on iPhone 11. And you can see that if you click on it, you can switch to different style, like the portrait or landscape. And there's also options in vary for choice. You can set up the width and height if you wanted to. So we use default at this moment. And notice here we also have the buttons on top there, like this plus button called a library. And from the library here, you can add all these different controls here. See, there are a lot of controls that we can add them to the design. See, like label, button, segmented control, text field, slider, switch, activity indicator view, progress view, page control stepper, horizontal stack view, vertical, table view cell, image, collection view cell, collection reusable view, text view, scroll view, data picker, visual effects, Mac kit view, metal kit view. So you can see that if you scroll down here, we have so many to choose from. Once you click on each of those, we have a little description for each control. And we use these controls to set up the interface in our application. There's so many here. And each of those control is actually a class. So it means it has properties and methods that we can use in the code view to manage those controls, to set up the response and the functions of each control on our interface. And if you look at this, if you click on this button here, you can see that we can change the layout of this control. So they all become small icon like this. So that'll be easier for us to manage. But if we switch to this one here, you can see there's no name for those anymore. Just the icon pictures for each view. If you are familiar with all these controls, you'll probably like to switch to this view here, list view, so that we can drag those onto the design quickly, easily. But at the beginning, you probably need a name here to see which one's which one. And also, if you click on this button here, you can see that we make it all smaller to be like this. But this time, we don't see any description, but we also see the name of each control like this. And there's also just the name only. So and also we have the picture. This gives you the picture select. Unless you set up the view onto your interface, you can change the properties of those interface from here. So we have different options there to choose from. Let's see, there are a lot of those. Each of those is a class and means they have properties and methods that we can call in the code. So there are so many to choose from. Look at that. And there are so many to use. So if you look at any control here, you can use the scroll bar to go back and forth. To go back and forth. So there are so many here. The quick way to pick up a control is like this. You go into the search box on top there. You just type the name here. For example, I say tab. When I see TA, so I get anything with the TA started at the beginning here. So now, what if I need a tab bar controller? So you can see right here we have TA table and tab and table view controller and the tab bar controller. So this time, if I need a tab bar controller, what I do is I just drag this one and drop it onto my control like this. And once they drop it on, you release the mouse. And notice here, this time when I drag anything from my toolbar to the design view, obviously there's one thing you can do this. This is the screen's the design view size. So maybe it's a little crowded or there are not enough space for us to see clearly. What you can do is that you can decrease the whole thing here to make it small. And now if you're ready to grab any control onto the page, onto the design, you can see, or the storyboard, you can see this time we can see much better like this. So we got this is a tab bar controller. So I want to add a tab bar controller onto my storyboard. So see, you can see they cover each other like this right here. So this is how I attached these two tab bars onto the controller, onto the storyboard. That means you can see by default I have two little things at the bottom here. So these are two tabs at the moment added onto my storyboard, and they point to each other's view. So we can also add more tabs if we wanted to here. But you see, that's how we added here, and we can adjust it to be like this. So that's what you can see from here, and you can also you can move it up and down like this. So that's how you added a tab bar controller. So like the trick is, if it's too big, you just always make it small. That way you can see much better. You can see the whole thing from here. So after this one, we have more room. We have more space to manage each one of those. See, this is the one we have here. This is my storyboard. The program always start from here, and then this is the, I can always drag, move this away. Sometimes you have to drag a few times to move it around here. So I can always do like this. So my program gets started from here, and then I want this tab bar controller to be attached to my storyboard. So that way my storyboard has a tab bar on the screen. So we can switch between this tab and this tab. I mean between this tab. Each tab point to view. And we can set up a connection from the main storyboard to, or the view controller as a storyboard to point to the tab bar controller. And you can always just drag on the top part right here. You drag it on top there, and you can move it around like this one here. You don't drag this middle here. If you drag the middle, nothing happens. You only drag the top one right here, and then we can maybe align it much better like this. And after this done, we can always make it bigger. Always make it bigger.